in exciting ways. Architects and designers, they are increasingly exploring innovative materials that not only enhance aesthetic appeal, but also improve sustainability, durability, and functionality. The integration of new materials is transforming how we approach design and construction. This shift not only reflects a commitment to sustainable practices, but also addresses the unique challenges posed by India's diverse climate and socio-economic conditions. And to discuss this, we have with us today Abhishek Somani, MD and CEO, Somani Ceramics, and Siddharth Talwar, Principal Architect and Co-founder, Studio Lotus. Gentlemen, we are talking about sustainability, we are talking about durability and functionality, but we are also talking about, innovative materials. My first question to you, Siddharth, is how do you see the role of these new materials in transforming architectural design principles, especially in the Indian context?
Thank you. So, broadly, the construction industry, it kind of takes care of a huge toll on the carbon footprint, I would say, on carbon emissions as a benchmark. I think it is amounting to almost 40% of carbon emissions onto the construction industry. So that's a sign, whereas us as architects or developers, everyone involved into this construction boom, as you were talking about, we are responsible to ensure how do we mitigate this and how do we see it long term. I think particular to your question in terms of new materials, it definitely plays a role because more and more India is looking at a massive scale. India is looking at large construction work. So in terms of scalability, flexibility, in terms of high rises, in terms of just the sheer volume of work, I think the materials needs a generational shift. As practice, we as architects, materials come pretty much later in terms of whether it's tendering or specifying or doing anything with the project. Material takes a hit. And everything goes for a toss when it comes to defining the materials in the correct way. I think it's high time materials, especially new age materials, probably precast or metal, or even as cladding services, we need to really zoom out and really think at a very large level how to take care of this. I think that would be, these are the aspects to be taken care in future.
We are talking about the new materials here. But what about the traditional surface materials, like, say, for example, marble and granite, and also then the artificial stones and, new age tile slabs impacting the overall architectural landscape? What is your thought on that?
Thank you very much for having me, first of all. And like Siddharth said, I think a lot of what has to take a transformational change is on the material, is from a point of view of weight, from the point of view of how quick you can deliver a particular building today with the kind of competition which is there. The only way a builder can earn really good money is how quickly he can churn, how quickly he can make the apartment, sell it. So that's one part of it, and that's where I think our products come into play. You take any traditional material, marble, granite, etc. There is a process of bringing it in, cutting it, polishing it, laying it, etc. Here, the products come in pre-cut, pre-polished, pre-finished. So it's a question of how quickly you can apply the material. Secondly, it's a question of what the weight of the material is. So our products range from between 6 millimeters upwards of 20, but it peaks out at 20. 99% of the tiles are between the 9 and 12 millimeter range, whereas a stone would start at about 20, 25 and go up to 30, maybe 40 millimeters. So it's also a question of weight. That's one part. The other part is it's not available anymore. It's scarce. It's a finite material. Unlike our product, any natural stone, any natural product would be finite. It's mined. So from that point of view, again, that's a challenge of getting good quality material. Whatever is available is not of fantastic quality. So for example, classic example is a Makrana white. Our Indian, good old Indian material, probably Siddharth would agree with me, probably one of the best marbles in the world is just not available. You may pay big bucks, but it's not available. So anything what is really good is so out of budget for any class of people. That's when other material, other transformational material come in. And amongst a lot of other material which are there, I think we're one of them, where it clearly has moved leaps and bounds in terms of sizes, in terms of finishes, where we are now mimicking all kinds of stones, fabrics, etc., and giving architects a lot of flexibility and a lot of consistency to finish their beautiful homes, or office spaces, or whatever they're designing.
Absolutely, and there is a larger discourse around sustainability as well. And we have been hearing about these on international forums, governments talking about it. What I want to understand from you is, how is sustainability playing its role in material selection now?
Actually, a very pertinent question, somewhat related to our work also. We look at materials with low carbon footprint and low embodied energy. So we feel as much as material, if possible, can be locally sourced. That's been one of the parameters when you come at the SDG goals also. Of course, it can't really happen in all the projects, and to what Abhishek mentioned, we have a projects of a very different scale, but at least in smaller projects, I think the way forward should be to really locally source the material. What does it mean? Materials which are available in 15 to 30 kilometer radius, that is what is a good practice, so that the amount of cost in transportation is just spikes up the carbon embodied energy. So there are projects where you can do, and India has abundant materials. When you also mentioned about natural materials, India has abundance of materials. So whether it is stone or earth, and you mix it up with different components to make them stabilize, to make it into building products, it is still possible. We do it at a level which is possible. It also gives employment to local labor, which is also part of the sustainability aspect. Yes, but to an extent, when you talk about large projects, of course, it cannot happen. And to picking up on what Abhishek mentioned, if the materials become, which I mentioned earlier also, if the materials can become modular, scalability when I mentioned. So if materials are precast, if they are modular, if they're cut to size, however of the work can happen at the factory, so that at the site, the large amount of work and energy required to put it out there, if that can also be minimized, it will make the projects much faster, which is also one way to look at sustainability at a much larger level.
Abhishek Somani, before I ask you this next question, I want to admit I have this really bad habit of scrolling through Instagram reels.
और एनडीटीवी रियल एस्टेट कॉन्क्लेव 2024 का आयोजन चल रहा है और इसमें रियल एस्टेट से जुड़ी कई हस्तियां अपनी अपनी बातें रख रही हैं.
The people like you, the homemakers, today I keep on telling, if you ask any lady, आपको सोना जवाहरात दे दूँ या घर दे दूँ, तो she chooses home. So we all, thanks to all you women, and that too also you might have seen all the governments.
So all the excitement in the real estate market and residential is because of the women. They want a home.
Of course, and see that why it is, my point is proved. Majority of the governments have given 1%, 2% rebate on stamp duty.
Women.
See,
Absolutely.
that's add to my point. No doubt, I don't advocate. Whatever is going on is not good for the industry. Let me be very honest, because
Can you repeat that in a little bit louder words? Not
people
good for the industry.
in the industry, people don't like me because I'm very blunt. Because see, rising price is like मीठा है. आप जितना मीठा खाओगे, तो no doubt आपको बीमारी आने वाली है. So my humble submission to each and every developer. Why I am telling you submission? Because Manisha, majority of the developer, I don't tell each and everyone because somebody may not like it, I telling them, majority of the developers sell only 10% of their inventory at a higher price. If you see, by the time the price rise happens, only we sell 10% or 15% or 20%
Which
maximum
you keep
inventory.
for the last.
Yeah, but when we go and take, because our raw material is land, so when we go and buy a new land, the landowner says, नहीं, आप तो 25,000 में बेच रहे हो, और आपको कंस्ट्रक्शन कॉस्ट, बोले हमको 5, 6, 7 हज़ार आता होगा, वो तो 3 ही हज़ार गिनता है। बोला कि आपको तो 3 ही हज़ार कंस्ट्रक्शन कॉस्ट आ रहा है, बाकी तो सारा आपका मुनाफा है, मुझे इतने पैसे दे दो। सो दैट्स द विक्शियस सर्कल. But today, why it is happening? See, the people who are age-old people, if you see in the industry, majority of them stop buying lands. They either do JV, JD, or DM. That they do it. But the corporates who have come new, so उन्होंने अभी तक उसका उन्होंने सारा अच्छा ही देखा हुआ है, बिकॉज जितने भी कॉर्पोरेट आए वो पोस्ट रेरा है, प्री रेरा वहाँ पे कॉर्पोरेट थी नहीं, बिकॉज रियल एस्टेट इंडस्ट्री शुड बी लुक एट 2 एंगल्स, प्री रेरा एंड पोस्ट रेरा. तो आज कॉर्पोरेट्स आने से ये चल रहा है, and everybody is enjoying.
Everybody is enjoying.
Yeah.
But I think what you've mentioned, and Vikram, I'll come to you. What Mr. Pandilkar has mentioned is that all the rise has been post-COVID. So ऐसा लग रहा है कि market has become very hot, right? But अगर आप 2013-14 से लेके 2020 तक देखें, literally मोरीबंद हो गया था, and post-demonetization तो it had in some markets it had also come down. But do you agree that runaway prices are not good for real estate or for developers? Till what point will you continue to buy land as land prices go up?
Manisha, thank you very much for having me here, first of all. So, जो prices हैं, उनका मैं बोलूँगा direct relation है customer के confidence से. Buying a home is the largest or the biggest decision any person can take in their life, whether it is financial or emotional decision. So during last few years, that confidence has increased. उसी की वजह से there is a beeline for in all the offices of developers, and वो confidence जो है उसके multiple reason हैं. रेरा आने के बाद में there is a confidence increase. Infrastructure जैसे develop हो रहा है उसकी वजह से there is a confidence increase. इंडिया एज ए कंट्री जैसे ग्लोबल मार्केट्स में परफॉर्म कर रहा है, हमारी जीडीपी जितना अच्छा परफॉर्म कर रही है, उसकी वजह से बायर दे आर वेरी कॉन्फिडेंट दैट दे शुड हैव अ होम, और उसकी वजह से ही देयर इज अ डिमांड. सो दिस डिमांड इज एक्चुअली ट्रिगरिंग द प्राइस हाइक. बट फॉर श्योर अगर करेक्शन आता भी है, घर तो चाहिए. सो घर चाहिए तो देयर विल बी अ डिमांड फॉर श्योर.
करेक्ट.
So I think this is the price increase, whether there will be a correction or not, but demand will be there, and that's a fantastic opportunity for every developer.
For every developer. All right. Amit, as an advisor to, of course, the top end of the market, which is the HNIs, but you have a deep perspective of what's happening in India's real estate. Are there pockets which are hot? And therefore, we believe all of India, all top 7 cities, all markets are doing well. Or there is pent-up demand, which we are seeing today, which is making this bull run seem very strong. What's your view?
You're right, Manisha. So there is a lot of liquidity. These strong economic, macroeconomic factors are really playing a role where people are wanting to buy good homes, upgrade their homes. And in terms of my view on, the way forward, I think it's all about demand and supply dynamics. Those dynamics indicate that the demand remains robust and the supply is lesser, because a lot of inventory has been taken up, has been picked up by home buyers in the last 3 years when market has seen good run, as my co-panelist Rajan also said. Given the low inventory levels, especially in the luxury segment where we operate, I see, whether it is new IPOs coming or the stock market performance, these are, reasons where there is excessive liquidity in the system, and that liquidity is going into people upgrading their homes and also investing in properties. So all these, 2021, prior to 2021, for about 8-9 years, we saw investor demand slowing down, and mostly end users were coming and buying properties. But in the last 3 years, we've seen more and more investors coming back into the real estate space and investing. In fact, we do a survey, and this year our survey findings were that 44% of the investors who invested into real estate in the last 1 year, actually their primary reason was investment,
besides other factors, right? So that indicates that investor is back into the real estate market. They are optimistic about the future. They're optimistic on the price appreciation, capital appreciation, and also rentals have been growing.
Rentals have also caught up. So that's another thing.